sending you all lots of love, especially the photographer that was suing me.
The conversation about Kat Von D's lawsuit and the jury verdict that happened a few days ago has been wild. And it's because the issue of tattooing and copyright doesn't come up too often, right? You go to a tattoo shop, you bring a reference photo, the tattoo artist uses it for inspiration. And typically tattoo artists aren't thinking, I might get sued by the person who took this picture. That's what happened to Kat Von D. So photographer takes this picture of famous musician Miles Davis in 1989, and then many years later, one of Kat Von D's friends brings that photo to her and says, hey, this is what I'm thinking, let's do a great, you're amazing, let's do it. And so she does a tattoo, and she also posts about it. Photographer sees that she has posted about it, sees the tattoo, and of course, files the lawsuit. Now, I did go into full detail on the complaint. If you want to check that out, I posted it a few days ago here on Top Music Attorney YouTube. But now, fast forward 2 years, we did have a jury verdict, and the finding was for Kat Von D, and that there was no copyright infringement. And yes, this is a huge win because the photographer was seeking statutory damages of up to $150,000 per infringement, claiming not just the tattoo, but the posting of the pictures, right, on Instagram, showing the process of the tattoo itself. And in each of the instances that we saw the photographer's picture, he goes, well, that's a separate instance of copyright infringement. So there are a lot of opinions floating around about this, but Kat Von D herself today released a 7-minute video giving us her thoughts and actually giving us some details that I did not think that she was going to share. So I'm going to go through that video right now and give you my reaction. So
I know I promised that I was going to make a video talking about the events of this last week. As some of you saw, I was in court. I was getting sued by a photographer for a tattoo that I did about 7 years ago. It has been a really heavy week. Oh no, it's been a heavy 2 years. This has been going on for the last 2 years, and I think I'm still a little bit traumatized by the entire experience. I have never been sued my entire life. I've never sued anybody, even though I'm sure I definitely have had reason to, but I wouldn't wish this upon my worst enemy. There was no aspect of this was fun. No aspect of this was fulfilling. It was just an extremely painful.
And as a litigation attorney, there's usually two things that really drive a lot of litigation. One is emotion, and two is money, right? And she talks about what, her perception on everything is here shortly. But, from the emotional standpoint, it's exhausting. Litigation is not fast, and 2 years, 3 years, even more is very normal. And so you have to be willing to go the distance, but there's other factors that come into it. It's not just how the hardship that you undertake to go through that kind of thing, but also the financial burden and just the sacrifice of when you decide to do that. And sometimes, like I said, for some people, it's just about money.
Process, and I'm so grateful that it's over. I really didn't talk about this publicly because it's not something you want to bring your followers along with. This isn't a fun adventure. My close friends and family knew about it. Folks at my church knew about it. And, it's been weighing on me so heavy behind the curtains. And, it's hard to make this video because honestly, if you don't have anything nice to say about somebody, just don't say anything at all. And I just don't have anything nice to say about this photographer. I truly believe that he saw this as an opportunity to gain publicity and to gain a lot of money. And unfortunately for him, it's backfired. I think, I have no idea what his lawyer fees are, but I know what mine are. And now he, may have to have the burden of paying for those. And, I know.
Yeah, and I said this in the last video and also, some clips that I've done talking about the attorney's fees. After several years with copyright cases and having, a decent copyright attorney, and sometimes there's multiple attorneys working on the case, you find yourself in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the hope is that you get to the finish line and you are successful, and then you'll be able to seek reimbursement of your attorney's fees. But that doesn't mean that the other side is going to be able to pay them. And so that's always a big part of the conversation on, how far do we take things? How much do we fight? In this case, she was fighting not only for herself, but, quite frankly, she was fighting on behalf of all tattoo artists who may find themselves in this exact situation.
That he's going to appeal this until the end of time if he can, because his ego just won't allow him to let it go. And I think perhaps that's probably the worst punishment of all for what he's done, because I can't imagine having to live with just that kind of heaviness. For me, I want nothing.
Well, and back to the emotional thing for some people who just pursue this because it becomes their mission. And, not to be mean, but sometimes it's just like you need to get a life. Like this is their entire life because it's what they have vested everything in. And, every side to a case has their own perspective. And oftentimes it's not that we have like a bad guy. It's just that we have drastically, maybe even diluted perceptions about who did what. And I will say that often it's really difficult when you feel wronged in some kind of way, right? As a photographer, she stole my picture and she benefited from it. She didn't get paid for the tattoo, from what I understand. But, she posted on her social media and she got all these likes and I didn't get anything for that usage. I can understand that from a creator's kind of standpoint, but equally, with the complaints, this guy was seeking $150,000 per instance of infringement. So, we get up into like the millions at some point. Music Attorney is your #1 legal resource for artists, producers, and record labels. Get contract templates, one-on-one legal advice, free master classes, and everything you need for your music business. Go to topmusicattorney.com.
More than just to let this go and just move on. But I knew that if I didn't fight, like the effects of something like this would be so awful for not just tattooers, but artists across the board, as well as people who get tattooed and people who love fan art. And I do have an understanding.
No, and look, I'm sure her attorneys at this point have just, explained copyright, and then she's heard throughout the trial, going through the elements of copyright and copyright infringement, all the things. And so what essentially Kat Von D's team was claiming was that her use of the image, because like if you compare the pictures, they look very similar, right? And that's because she is so talented at what she does, that she would be able to bring that kind of realism to a tattoo. But under copyright law, we have a defense of fair use in that we are transforming through our expression of the thing. And so under fair use, we have exceptions for education, right? So on this channel, I react to things all the time. I can do that. For other people's content, I can use their videos because I'm providing education and I'm transforming the nature. And so essentially that's what it is. She took inspiration from something and transformed it into her own creation and creative expression.
Of what copyright is, and I understand what rights as an artist are. I'm an artist who has been ripped off many times and has had big corporations like mass produce things that I've created and, gotten rich off of it.
And that's another part of it. I represent the little guys and the big guys, litigation and just everything in between. And when we have a company that has just blatantly used something that belongs to one of our clients, sometimes you do want to go the distance. You do want to sue and you want to get to a trial and you want to have your day in court and you want to do all these things because it's a matter of literal justice. And to Kat Von D's point, she's not a very litigious person. She's like, I've never sued anybody. This is the first time I've been through this experience. And so even though she was personally wronged and ripped off by her own account by other companies, she's never taken it upon herself to kind of pursue those, which I think is interesting.
And this is not that. I really don't believe that that's what tattooing is. I think tattooing, when somebody comes in to like when someone would come into my shop wanting to get a tattoo, it was always paying homage to somebody or something. Someone affected their life so deeply that they would want to get their image carved onto their body permanently. And it's like, this isn't me, putting an image on a t-shirt or on a poster and striking a deal with Walmart and selling it. I'd never claim images to be my own. These are just interpretations of images that people bring in. And usually I'm trying to match the sentiment of the photo with whatever the story is. And, I
don't know if this will help here. I'm gonna try doing something. This would be my official move as the, as the trial lawyer. So I go, all right, so we know under copyright, if you copy a picture and you put it in her, to her point, you put it on a t-shirt and you start selling it, well, that would probably be pretty blatant copyright infringement. And we say, no, I'm the photographer. You are supposed to license that picture. I'm suing the pants off of you. But here in the tattoo situation, let's say me, who has zero, drawing skills at all. So I'm like, Miles Davis. All right, he's very happy. And I go, this is your tattoo. Here, I don't know if you can see that. Okay? So I go, this is my interpretation of the picture. And that's just the quality of, what I can do. I'm not Kat Von D. And so in her creative expression and her ability to transpose the image and to bring the realism that she did, I think it absolutely does fall under fair use. And apparently so did the jury.
I think this photographer doesn't really understand like how much negativity he's doing. Like he's inflicting so much negativity onto not just himself and not just to me or my team of lawyers, all the people involved, the jury. Like some of the jury members traveled like 3 hours every day to sit there and listen to this guy talk about himself for 7 hours.
We just did jury selection in one of my cases, and, as we're going through in the jury, we're picking the people who are going to be a part of it, and you're talking about hardships and what people have to go through. No one wants to be there, first and foremost, but for those who are going to do their civic duty or are going to show up, they still have to figure out the kiddos and the work and, if they're taking care of the grandparent. And for some of the jurors, they had difficulties in traveling and vehicles and all these things. So, I mean, to her point, if you have jurors who are traveling 3 hours, the hardship that it just puts on everyone to have to go through this.
The judge, all of the witnesses that we called and they called, and then, like all of our loved ones, I can't imagine that this was an easy process for him either. I know that my family has been suffering quietly through this. Like, yeah. No, thank you, baby. No, thank you. My little boy. But, that was another thing. It's like, we just obviously hid all of this from my boy during this whole entire process. And my husband stayed home with him while I would go to court. And I'm a tough cookie, but like I really needed somebody to come with me. And so my dad was gracious enough to come with me every morning. We prayed outside the courthouse together, and it is tough to have your dad sit, on a bench and listen to people just badmouth you to the public and paint you as this monster who just has no regard for other people. And that is not who I am. And I know my dad knows that.
And I will say that sometimes it's not even that the photographer, because I don't know anything about, this person and his maybe ill will, right? But specifically with that, painting someone as willfully infringing your copyright is how you get to the statutory damages, right? And specifically the $150,000. You get statutory damages at a lesser amount, a greater lesser amount for just copyright infringement. It's kind of like speeding. If you do it, you can't really argue about it. You did the thing. But then we get to willful, so the much higher amount by showing that, there was kind of like this masterful plan and she meant to and she knew and all of these things. And so, yeah, I believe that he got up there for days upon days. And after 2 years of kind of saying it to the court, I'm sure anyone who could listen, very much trying to paint her in this incredibly bad light and to a degree probably believes it.
It doesn't feel good to like drag your loved ones through something ugly like this. I'm really glad it's over for now. And, I hope tattooers aren't discouraged by a lawsuit like this, because to have to kill like the spirit of the creative process and the gift that we're able to give the people that we tattoo through our interpretations of artwork and photographs and whatever else, ideas, it would just be such a sad thing to happen. I just want to thank everybody who's been praying for me. I want to thank my church family, obviously, and all of my friends and followers who have been supporting me and obviously my dad and Alan Grodsky, my amazing lawyer, who really believed in me and in the case from the beginning. He said, hey, like, it feels good to be on the right side of things. And I truly believe that we were. So, sending you all lots of love, especially the photographer that was suing me.
Hey. Yeah. Need contracts for your music business? Go to topmusicattorney.com to get downloadable templates such as NDAs, record label agreements, management agreements, featured artist agreements, and so much more. Go to topmusicattorney.com. We've learned 3 important things today. The first, Kat Von D is very gracious. Number 2, I probably don't have a future as a tattoo artist according to my latest sketches. And number 3, at least as it relates to the Ninth Circuit in which this court was located, this is going to positively influence future tattoo artists who get sued over similar circumstances, right? And so finding that tattoo artists are not liable for copyright infringement if they use other people's pictures as references or inspiration when creating the tattoos. If you're happy about this outcome, if you support Kat Von D, definitely give this video a big thumbs up. And if you're looking for help because maybe you're in some messy copyright situation, I'm dealing with this very long, drawn-out, complicated copyright lawsuit right now as well. And if you need help, you can reach out to Delgado Entertainment Law, which is my law firm. We've been around for about 10 years now, and we do business, we do entertainment, music, film, we do all the things. And if you need more help just on the music side, that is what Top Music Attorney YouTube is all about, and just helping you with your contracts, with your negotiations, with your career, your social media, all the things. I'm sending out super positive vibes to Kat Von D and her family. Very, very cool. I'm very happy that at least she has a moment to breathe. And while there may be an appeal coming, we will be sure to track along, so stay tuned.